Ooh, boy, the pump is on. I have never seen anything like this. With a single stroke of his pen, Donald Trump has soothed the markets while also continuing to apply even more pressure to China. The market has said, we find these terms acceptable, and it is pumping like I've never seen anything pump before. Art of the deal. This is perhaps what Trump maybe should have done in the first place, but this is crazy as I can now announce a 90-day pause on all tariffs as they negotiate. But he doubled down on China, probably because China tried to disrespect Americans by calling us fat and lazy yesterday. I've got a separate video on that. This is breaking news. Let's get into it. By the way, there's a lot of talks about tariffs on coffee because of the tariffs. I talked about it in a later video. Coffee Brand Coffee never intended to raise prices because of the tariffs. Now the tariffs are on pause. It's less of a good hit. But I will tell you, not only did we not install any price increases, we dropped prices about 15% across the board so that we can compete with the big guys. I'm asking you guys, enjoy the market pumping today. Pick up some Coffee Brand Coffee from our Amazon store, link in the description. And most importantly, make sure you take a picture and leave a review. We're trying to compete with the big boys. And if you haven't gotten your Mother's Day gift box yet, please pick that up today and take a picture, leave a review. Some absolute chads have begun to do that. If you already got yours, please remember to leave a review on it. Let's get into the news. Donald Trump just put this out. President Trump implements a 90-day pause on new tariffs, except for China. Based on the lack of respect that China has shown the world's markets, I'm hereby raising the tariff charge to China by the United States of America to 125%, effective immediately. At some point, however, in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. This is the thing about China. China, not only do they steal our IP and sell it back to us at an inflated price, they love to sell our secrets to other people. They don't play by the same rules as anybody else, even though they've joined places like the WTO, the World Trade Organization. They do whatever it is that they want to do. And Trump has said, you know what, we're done with that. What I'm hoping is that other countries grow a set and decide that they too are going to get in there and say, yeah, you know what? We're good on that too. We're going to tariff China as well and have China face a massive global tariff pressure that they've never seen before to negotiate a better deal for all countries out there. Conversely, and based on the fact that more than 75 countries have called representatives of the United States, including the Department of Commerce, Treasury, and the USTR, to negotiate a solution to the subjects being discussed relative to trade barriers, tariffs, currency manipulation, and non-monetary tariffs, and that these countries have not, at my strong suggestion, retaliated in any way, shape, or form against the United States, I have authorized a 90-day pause and a substantially lower reciprocal tariff during this period of just 10%, also effective immediately. This is the art of the deal. Markers just fell off my wall because the market is pumping so hard. This is the art of the deal, folks. Now, I know a lot of people don't have a lot of stock, and so they're not, I have a small amount that I put in for my own retirement fund, just like a lot of people have 401ks. I essentially have a small portfolio. There's nowhere near enough money to retire in it. But I felt like, since I own my own business, I don't have like a 401k match thing. I have an IRA, but for general purposes, I'm the same as most people. I have put into a retirement fund in some form my entire life, whether it's an IRA or the small stock portfolio, but I don't have enough money to retire right now. And watching the little money that I did have saved for retirement disappear, quickly was making me nervous. And let me explain why this is so good. Okay. First of all, I think it's entirely fair that people can get a reprieve from big tariffs as long as they've shown like a good faith effort to negotiate with America so that everybody wins. People that have been disingenuously talking about these tariffs think of it and explain it to Americans only in the terms of the stock market, which is fair because most of us understand, green line good, red line bad. That's about my extent of investment advice and knowledge. I know many of my viewers are much smarter than I am in terms of that. That's why most of my money is in a high yield money market and savings account. Like I have my Discover Card savings account that pays almost 5%. And then a money market, that's where most of my money is because I'm not smart enough to really play the stock market. But here's the thing. What this means is that over the next, because these negotiations we're going to take some time, right? Now these countries have 90 days to negotiate. Meanwhile, our market can kind of chill a little bit. I mean, the market as it stands right now is continuing to pump. There was a little bit of a sell-off, but it's back on the pump. The Dow Jones Industrial is up 5.76%. The NASDAQ is up almost 8% right now. And again, what I want to point out is that this is still with the Chinese tariffs in place. If you look at 6 months, obviously we're down bigly, right? If we go back to February, the Dow Jones was at the NASDAQ was at 20,000. And now it's at, even with the pump, 16,500. Most of my portfolio did not go green, even with this crazy pump today. But it's definitely a lot less red. If you can get back to April 2nd numbers of 17,000, 18,000 by the end of the week, people will start to feel better. But again, if you look at the Dow, 6 months, with this pump, it could get to early April numbers, hopefully. And then hopefully we can get back to February numbers and then beyond that. But all of that is going to depend on whether or not and how Trump negotiates these deals. So yes, putting a pause on it has allowed the markets to pump. Most affected, CNBC, MSNBC, very, very sad. If you look at the 5-day, at this rate, the NASDAQ could wipe out the 5-day losses in a single day. It's still down 2.86%, but yesterday, or today it was up Today it's up 5.76%. We'll see if it keeps pumping past that. I suppose at some point people are going to take their profits, take their money out. But the left is obviously melting down. President Trump cited new talks with foreign nations on trade and explaining his reversal, but he said China would not be included, raising tariffs on its exports 125%. So the market comes back. Meanwhile, Donald Trump can negotiate against China to really, China was the real target here, right? I can't imagine Donald Trump is really concerned about Vietnam ripping off America. The EU, I think I would like to see a better deal in place between the EU and America. What he's doing, while a lot of people are going to say, oh, Trump backed down. No, he didn't. He showed them the stick. He showed the world's economy the stick. And now he's giving them a chance to take the carrot. You can see, this is the S&P 500. If we go back to April 2nd, it was at 5,600. It's about 220 points away from, basically undoing all the tariff. I don't think we'll see that in a single day. I don't think the market's going to keep pumping up to infinity, be up 20% in a single day. Some people are going to, take some earnings out of this. But on top of this, also, people are talking about possible rate cuts, which would pour gasoline onto this, which would be crazy. I don't think the Fed's going to cut rates. They don't like Trump. But again, China to 125%. If we cannot tank our market while also really keeping pressure applied on China, this is an absolute win. Listen to Fox News here.
The president's latest statement regarding his America First trade plan. As you all know, the president just put out a statement announcing an additional tariff on China. The tariff on China will now go up to 125% because China imprudently decided to retaliate against the United States. And as I said at the podium yesterday, when you punch at the United States of America, President Trump is going to punch back harder. In that same vein, we have had more than 75 countries from around the world reach out to President Trump and his team here at the White House to negotiate better trade deals for the American worker. We have been overwhelmed with the amount of requests from countries around the world. I'll let the Secretary speak to that. We will continue with the tailor-made negotiations that I spoke about yesterday. In the meantime, there will be a 90-day pause on the reciprocal tariffs as these negotiations are ongoing. And the tariff...
That was always the plan. That was always the plan. Okay? That was always a plan. Besant this morning, China is surrounded. And now they truly are. After Trump paused tariffs on countries who wish to negotiate for 90 days, while then increasing the tariffs on China, what a move. I think this is exactly it. Here, look at what, here, Zero Hedge. Let's look at the response here. Trump just launched a geoeconomic warhead disguised as a tariff policy. 125% on China is not just punitive. It's a full spectrum decoupling mechanism. Simultaneously, the 90-day global pause isn't reprieve, it's a strategic realignment window. He's giving the rest of the world a choice. Shift supply chains now or be economically collateralized alongside China. This bifurcates global trade in two reflexive blocks. One, the dollar-aligned nations get access, liquidity, and time, which is what they want and need. Two, China-aligned nations get more isolation, uncertainty, and risk over the next 90 days. Behind the surface, it forces capital to now flow away from China and have time to do it into U.S.-aligned production zones. Increases urgency for the onshoring and reindustrialization, accelerates commoditization of trust, Bitcoin, gold, energy becomes collateral again, signals to end the multilateral trade norms. Bilateral leverage is now sovereign doctrine. This is Trump Doctrine 2.0, tariffs as a monetary policy, and timing as a weapon, trade as a structural realignment. And it just fired the starting gun on the next era of global economic order. I mean, hard to disagree with that. 125% on China, 90-day reprieve for the rest. Trump just split the deck and rewrote the rules mid-hand. Capital will flow to safety, scarcity, and sovereignty. This is Bretton Woods III in real time. You either pivot now or get steamrolled by the velocity of change. This is genius. Absolute genius. I mean, if you look at, Amazon's pumping, again, as the, stuff changes here, if we go, the Dow's back on the pump again. Let's see if it exceeds the 40,000 where it was earlier. NASDAQ back on the pump. It has now exceeded the 16.6, or it's now exceeded the previous height and continues to pump. Trump is a genius. Anyone who doubted him is an idiot. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.